We all know the tale of Aethelred II, often nicknamed Aethelred the Unready, a man who's been labeled as ill-prepared, incompetent, and an ineffective ruler. Yet, today, we're going to dive deeper, journey into the annals of history, and evaluate whether Aethelred II was truly unready, or if he was in fact just a victim of terrible luck. In the wake of time, many kings and queens have fallen victim to narratives that perhaps were not entirely fair or truthful. Aethelred II's reign, occurring from 978 to 1016 AD, marked a significant period in England's history. It was a time of transition, of strife, of changes in power dynamics, both internally and externally. However, before we can truly appreciate or understand Aethelred's reign, we must first journey back to his ascension to the throne. Aethelred II became the King of England at a young age after the death of his half-brother Edward the Martyr. His reign began in a cloud of mystery and contention because Edward's death wasn't a natural passing. It was a violent end, and rumors spread that Aethelred's own mother might have been involved in orchestrating Edward's murder. Now, imagine a young boy of just about 10 stepping into the shoes of a king under the shadow of such suspicion. Some might say he was thrust onto the stage unprepared, hence the nickname the Unready. The early years of Aethelred's reign were marked by a significant event, the resurgence of Viking invasions. The Viking Age was a tumultuous period for England. Vikings, seafaring warriors from the Scandinavian lands, made frequent, violent incursions into England, pillaging and plundering towns and monasteries. The impact of these invasions was profound and devastating, causing economic havoc, socio-political instability, and a considerable loss of life. These invasions were not something new. They were part of England's history since the late 8th century. The land had seen a brief respite under the reign of Aethelred's predecessors, but his reign saw the Vikings return with renewed vigor. The reason behind this resurgence isn't fully clear. Some historians suggest it was due to internal strife within Viking lands, while others propose the possibility of an economic downturn in Scandinavia. Regardless of the reason, the fact remains that Aethelred had to deal with a massive external threat right from the start of his reign. Was he unready, or was it just unfortunate timing? In an attempt to deal with the Viking threat, Aethelred decided to pay them off, a practice known as Danegeld. Essentially, he gave the Vikings vast amounts of money to leave England alone. This strategy, however, backfired. It only encouraged the Vikings to demand more money, and when the payments stopped, they resumed their attacks. Today, this is often cited as a prime example of Aethelred's incompetence. However, it's crucial to remember that paying off invaders wasn't a new strategy. Aethelred's predecessors had used it as well, and at the time, it might have seemed like the best possible solution given the military limitations of the era. Aethelred's reign also witnessed numerous betrayals and shifts in alliances, both within his court and among the Viking invaders. Edric Streona, the Alderman of America, was one of Aethelred's most powerful nobles, but he was known for his treacherous nature, changing his loyalties multiple times. Moreover, the Viking leaders weren't unified. They had their own power struggles, alliances, and betrayals, making the political landscape incredibly volatile. One could argue that Aethelred's inability to manage these betrayals and maintain a loyal and unified force was a sign of his incompetence. But consider this. Politics during this era was a blood sport, fraught with danger and unpredictability. With the constant threat of invasion and the ever-changing political alliances, any ruler would have struggled to maintain a grip on power. Was Aethelred truly unready for the task, or was he just a victim of the chaotic times he reigned in? Another point of contention during Aethelred's reign was his decision to order the St. Brice's Day Massacre in 1002. In a bid to eliminate the potential threat, he ordered the extermination of all Danes living in England. This event not only resulted in the death of a significant number of Danes, but it also inflamed the Viking leaders, prompting further attacks on England. Yet, can we say with certainty that this act was a result of Aethelred's incompetence? Or was it a desperate measure driven by the need for survival, a decision made under immense pressure to safeguard his kingdom? Fast forward to 1013, when Aethelred fled to Normandy as Sweyn Forkbeard, king of Denmark, took over his throne. Some might see this as Aethelred abandoning his kingdom, another proof of his unreadiness. However, it's important to remember that at this point, Aethelred had been battling the Viking invasions for more than 30 years. His kingdom was in ruins, his treasury depleted, and his people living in fear. The flight to Normandy could be seen as an act of self-preservation, a strategic move to survive and fight another day. Remarkably, Aethelred did return to the throne in 1014 after Sweyn's death and ruled until his death in 1016. He had to fight off Sweyn's son, Canute, in the process, but his return showed resilience, a willingness to fight back. This doesn't seem like the act of a king who was unready. In conclusion, was Aethelred II truly the unready? Or was he simply a ruler born in a period of extreme turmoil? A man who inherited a difficult situation and did what he thought was best given the circumstances? Could it be that the epithet unready, which in Old English means ill-advised, is actually a misinterpretation or a result of poor translation? We may never know for sure. Yet what we do know is that Aethelred's reign was a complex era marked by constant invasions, power struggles, and tough decisions. To label him simply as unready might be a significant oversimplification of a complicated historical narrative.